Howdy AdWords fans, and welcome back to this exciting lecture where we're going to actually create our very first AdWords account. If you've done this before, then you could definitely skip ahead. If you haven't done this before, then this is a good place to start. In order to create your first AdWords account, you're going to need to have a Google account, a Gmail account, an account associated with one of the Google products, which is now considered your overall Google account. If you don't have a Google account yet, then just jump over to gmail.com or google.com, click sign in and create an account. We're going to assume that there's already an account created, and we're going to go ahead and jump straight to AdWords. The easiest way to get to AdWords is simply go to adwords.com. It's going to redirect you to adwords.google.com. You can also go directly to adwords.google.com. And here we're presented with the pretty new AdWords landing page. So you could kind of scroll down, you can get a sense of what the UI, what the dashboard is going to look like. But I haven't found that this information that they present from the outset is that helpful. So there's two ways to get in. We can click the big green Start Now button or just sign in. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and click Start Now. Google first gives us this guided setup, which kind of simplifies all the different options that we're going to get when creating our account and creating our first campaign. They're going to try to walk you through the billing and then creating one ad and one ad group. But we want to kind of do things right and learn all the different settings and all the different elements to maximize the potential effectiveness and the potential scale of our campaigns. So if you're presented with this screen here, you're going to want to go ahead and click to skip the guided setup, which is this little blue link over here. You might be tempted to fill in your email address and your website and continue. And if you do, that's fine. You could go through the guided setup. Everything that we're going to cover is going to be accessible back in the settings tab once you're finally in your actual account. But for the sake of the video, for the sake of the course, we're going to go ahead and click skip the guided setup, and we're going to have a lot more options. The first thing we have to do, obviously, is enter in our email address. So I'm going to enter in my email, up and running with ga3@gmail.com. This is just a kind of a dummy email account that I'm going to create for this course, and you'll see throughout the course that there might be a few different emails being used based on when I wanted to kind of go back and start fresh to display or to show you guys certain features or certain settings that might not have been available in the previous accounts. So don't worry about exactly which email I'm using. Just use your email that you want to be associated with the account. Our country. The country is important. Select the country that you're advertising in or where your company is, not necessarily which countries you want to be targeting your ads to, where you are, and your time zone. Time zone is important. I'm going to send it to Eastern time because that's where I am in New York. The time zone is one of the few settings that is only configurable once when you're creating your account. You're not able to go in and change your time zone. If you get it wrong, it's not a big deal. You usually could just reach out to Google and they'll change your time zone for you, but they say they'll only do that once. So just get it right the first time. And currency in US dollar. Obviously, you want to have your reporting and your click costs and your budget be set in the currency that you're familiar with, that you'll be bidding with. So set your currency. And once again, this is also another setting that you cannot change once you've created your account. When we have all that right, we'll click Save and Continue. Google's going to prompt me to sign in to Gmail. If you're not already signed in, obviously if you're signed in, this will be skipped. And here we're landed on the Create Your First Campaign screen. This is Google's welcome screen once you first create your account. If you went through the guided setup, you're not going to see this exact same screen. If you don't see this exact same screen, don't worry, it's not that big of a deal because once again, everything we're covering now you'll be able to get back to it if you went through that guided setup. So the first thing I want to do is I want to uncheck these two boxes, just my personal preference. I'm not interested in getting every single marketing email and every single idea that AdWords might have. I like to manage my campaigns on my own, based on my own data, based on my own intellect, and based on my own knowledge. Now, before we go into creating our first campaign, let's take a moment to familiarize ourselves with this top toolbar. All the way in the upper right-hand corner is this little bell icon. This is always going to be your notifications. And this top toolbar is going to always stay the same when you're in AdWords. You'll always be able to see this exact same menu. So if I were to click on notifications, you're going to see a drop down of potential notifications. There might be something wrong with your billing. There might be a keyword conflict. There might be a negative keyword conflict. They might have a suggestion that a certain ad group could use target CPA bidding strategy versus max CPC bidding strategy. If you're not familiar with what those are, don't worry, because we're going to cover that very soon. If you have a lot of notifications that you haven't read yet, you don't need to go ahead and individually dismiss each one. You can just click outside of notifications and they're going to go away. If you want the little red icon to go away, you click dismiss, and then you'll be all caught up. The next most important thing to know about in this right-hand side of the upper menu is this little gear icon. The gear icon is where you're going to be able to access some of the back-end, not day-to-day functions of your AdWords account. So you're going to be able to access your billing. Once again, we're going to set up our billing soon. You're going to be able to set up account settings. Under account settings, you have a few different configuration options like adding new users to your account, adding client managers to your account, and we'll go into account settings later. Linked accounts is important if you're going to be linking your analytics account, linking a Salesforce account, linking a Google Webmaster Tools account, to be able to integrate different reporting features from these different platforms. You'll be able to do that under linked accounts, and then you'll have the option of sending feedback and getting help. Next, to the left of the gear icon, you have your customer ID number and the Gmail address associated with the account. You could add a Google account. You could sign out similar to any other Google tool. The important thing to note is your customer ID number. You want to write this down, this 10-digit number. If you ever have an issue and you're locked out of your account, or you forgot your password and you can't get back in, giving Google a call and being able to present them with this customer ID number and the email address associated with your account is going to allow them to pull up all your information to help you with any issues you've had. We've had a lot of clients that didn't know their customer ID number and they weren't able to get into their account. It's surprising how often it happens. So just take a second to write down that 10-digit number. In the left of this primary top navigation, you have your primary menu. You're going to be spending 99% of your time under the Campaigns tab, which is the tab that's highlighted now. The home screen gives you a bird's eye view of everything that's going on in your account. We will check it out later in the course, but it's really not a screen that I'm in at all. Very, very small percentage of my time am I on the home screen because it just gives you a broad snapshot. If you really want to get deeper into your data and to see how things are doing on a more granular level, you really need to be under the Campaigns tab. Opportunities is also another thing that you're really not going to be dealing too much with. It's kind of Google's automated suggestions. It's computer algorithms that are kind of spitting out here. Maybe it's a good idea to add these keywords. Maybe it's a good idea to increase your budget so you get more clicks. Kind of things like that that tend to be more simplistic. I'm not saying not to check your opportunities tab, especially if you see opportunities that show up in the notifications bar. You could check them and you can make a decision whether or not you want to implement those opportunities in your campaign. And we'll take a look at the opportunities tab a little bit later in the course. Reporting is a pretty cool tool that allows you to create and analyze kind of like a more visually simplified version of Excel for your AdWords data. You could build different charts, you could run different reports, and you could schedule those reports to run. It's also not a tool that I use a lot because our agency uses third-party software for all our client reporting, but it's a tool that we're also going to look at. Under Tools is the second most common place that you're going to go for additional insights and additional features into your AdWords account. We're going to look at all of these different tools individually, but just to do a quick rundown, you have your change history tool, which is very important because it tracks all the changes, as the name implies, that were ever made in your account. What's beautiful about this tool is if you have multiple people managing an account, you're able to easily see on any given day any change that was made by which person. So if there was a bidding change, if certain locations were excluded or added to a certain ad group, if the keyword bid was changed, if a new negative keyword was added, all those different things are tracked in the change history tool. And up until a certain date range in the past, I believe right now it's 30 or 60 days, there's a little button that allows you to revert changes that you made by mistake or that you just want to revert because the results weren't what you thought they would be. Under conversions, this is hugely important, and we're going to spend quite a bit of time in this area later, setting up conversion tracking. Very, very important for you to have any sort of clue if this advertising is working. If you're not tracking conversions, you're really just taking a shot at the dark and potentially throwing a lot of money down the drain. Attribution is very cool. We'll get into that further. Attribution seeks to give credit to different channels that all attributed to an ultimate conversion. Just as a quick example of attribution theory, say somebody clicks on an ad on Monday and they come to your website and they don't buy from you. And then on Wednesday, they do a different search that triggers a different keyword in a different ad group, and then they buy. So attribution says that both of those clicks should really get some credit for that ultimate sale. Even though in your AdWords dashboard, the second click is going to show 1 conversion and the first click is going to show 0 conversions, attribution seeks to give credit to multiple touch points in a longer conversion process. And I know that might sound a little bit confusing now, but we will get further into attribution later. Google Analytics shows you your Google Analytics reports as long as your Google Analytics and Google AdWords accounts are linked. Google Merchant Center is to manage your shopping feeds for shopping campaigns. It's not something we're going to cover in this course. And then you have 3 research tools, the Keyword Planner, Display Planner, and the Ad Preview and Diagnosis tool. All 3 things that we're going to get into further in the course. All 3 things that are super, super helpful when it comes to researching new campaigns, researching new ideas for websites where you want to target on the display network. And the Ad Preview and Diagnosis tool actually allows you to see how your ads are looking live in different locations from different keywords on different devices. Very, very cool stuff and very helpful when it comes to the beginning, early stages of creating new ad groups and creating new campaigns. And we're going to take a look at all that stuff in greater detail. So to wrap things up quickly here, I know it's been a lot of talking and not cool stuff like getting into the data and getting into setting up these campaigns, but you've successfully created your first AdWords account. You've logged in, and now we're ready to create our first campaign, which is exactly what we're going to dive into in the very next lecture. So I'll see you guys in a few seconds on the other side.